Thanks for taking some time for me. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
I'm a big fan of the Jupiter's Darling record, and as soon as I heard Red Velvet Car, there just seemed to be such a connection to the sound on so many of the songs there. It made me wonder when you began writing this batch of work, how soon after that?
Well, Jupiter's Darling, there were no songs like left over from Jupiter's Darling that made it onto Red Velvet Car. Jupiter's Darling was an entirely a different animal, and Red Velvet Car, except for one song really, was all written more recently, the last year, 2 years really, for this new album. And we were trying to really get Ben Mink involved, so we were writing new songs, to kind of try to attract Ben Mink to our camp, to agree to produce the album with us. Because we thought Jupiter's Darling turned out really cool, but we did want to make something that had like a new identity, that wasn't too similar to Jupiter's Darling.
Yeah, and I think that you've accomplished it, no question, Nancy. It's just more that there were just so many moments on there. Make Me, The Perfect Goodbye, Oldest Story in the World. I had a lot of favorites, and I think it's complimentary that this record has, again, a very contemporary sound. Songs like Wheels, I've really gravitated to it. It has like this autobiographical quality to it. I was wondering if the two of you spoken of in the song is you two.
Yeah, I think so. I think that when we wrote the song, we were really talking about us traveling, about us just being someplace and needing to get out of there quick. You know what I mean? So many things happen when you're out traveling around the world, and they aren't all wonderful. And sometimes you just look at each other and say, let's just get the hell out. And you get in your car and go, or you get in your bus and just, I can't wait to get on that bus and be out of here, And that's a sense of freedom that's in that song.
So it's less
Escape.
about the journey that you guys have been on together and more about in a moment that you want to split.
Yeah, I'd say that's what Wheels is about.
It's a bit about the escape, of leaving some kind of confined situation and then getting into that, the vehicle which takes you past all those windows and all of those dramas, that you're riding past. So there's, in more than just that song, there's a few songs, I think, that have a sense of travel and transit, where you're, you're moving through your life and there's a freedom to it. At the same time, there's a loneliness to it, where you're not attached to any one of those windows. You can't walk in the door and have that comfortable living room. You're a traveler. You're going past all those cozy windows where people are, actually having their family lives together. So there's a double-edged sword to the feeling of escaping and traveling. The refuge of the rose also can feel lucky as it can lonely.
I see both of you so, however, as having, I guess that you have the image from the outside as having the family perception, and that you have been able to nurture families and not lost out on so much of that by being on the road. But I take it from what you're saying that, I guess, to find motivation in the songs, it has to deal with somewhat more painful topics.
Well, yes, it's a constant struggle to balance our families and our life with the band, which is a life of movement. The kids are always coming out on the road, and we're constantly on the phone to them, and so it's not all roses, but it's our calling. And so with all the travel, that's a musician's life, really. So you just have to take the good with the bad. That's what these songs are really all about, is the bouncing back and forth of energy between blue and sunlight,
Yeah.
Travel and stillness.
And you've always really done that too, and I like the way that you're willing to put the heavier, harder experiences in life to music. And I've been fortunate when I've spoken to you before, and you've really let me in on that, by way of exposing some of like the behind the scenes, what led to the songs. In particular, kind of just try to help me a little bit with the title track, with Velvet Car. I mean, I'm getting this real sense of movement throughout the record from what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the song Red Velvet Car is the Red Velvet Car itself symbolizes the deepest, greatest, most nurturing, comfortable friendship possible. And that's the friend that comes and rescues you from real trouble. In the middle of the night, when nobody else will come, they're your last number you can call. They're the person that'll come all the way just to get you and really sacrifice a lot for you. That's what we're trying to say with this song. It doesn't matter what you've done wrong. Maybe you've done something really stupid, You've really blown it somehow. Well, this person will come and they'll forgive you and they'll pick you up and say, "Come on, let's go." That's Red Velvet Car.
Wow. Is that other person that you would call in the middle of the night, is that your sister?
It could be. Yes, definitely so. Yeah.
Well, we have each of us been that red velvet car for each other in many times, and that's the unconditional love and trust and acceptance. When you love somebody, there can be a few years that go by where things are just really screwed up, and you stick it out. You work on it, or you fix it, or you see them through, or you help them get through it, or you get through it together. You work it out, and you go through the phases, and you don't just drop someone off because it's a hard thing to be around them, or you know what I mean. You stick to love, and you make love work. And I think, a red velvet car is it doesn't really exist in the real world, almost except in your imagination, because that kind of unconditional forgiveness and love is almost as rare as a red velvet car, in the rain, So I just like that about the title, because it's an impossibility and yet not, and yet real.
Well, it makes me think of something that you said recently, actually, to the She Knows thing online about Billy and Curtis, the twins that Nancy has, if people listening don't know that. And just when you were saying that, and you talk about the energy difference of them when they're apart. And when you were just talking about needing that person with the unconditional love who sort of accepts you for all your quirks, and is still there for you when you need them. Do you see some evolution in the kids that's similar?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The kids definitely are growing up, going through all of their crazy phases and their competitions, and they're, I hate you, and I want what you have, and, stop bothering me. And, they spar and they fight. And yet, now that they're 10 years old, you walk around a corner and you'll see them just draped on each other playing a quiet game. And
they're always looking for each other.
And they can't, like a really funny thing that happened the other day. I was like, here, why don't you take your bike, have a new house. It's a nice, safe neighborhood. Go for a bike ride, Curtis. And he said, okay, great. You mean alone? I said, yep, this is a safe neighborhood. You can ride your bike here. So he ran over to Billy and he said, Billy, Mom says I can go on a bike ride by myself, all alone. You want to come?
That's perfect.
Yeah. And it's just that beautiful, that beautiful connection of theirs.
What's cool is that when you talk about it, it sounds like this innocent thing that kids enjoy. But then when you realize who's telling me the story, I'm like, it's Ann and Nancy together. So it's actually proof.
Yeah, because they're my nephews, so.
Yeah, it can work. It can actually last, I guess is what I'm saying. Because look at the two of you.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
People ask us all the time, do you guys fight? Do you argue? And that's so foreign, to us. We've always hung together and survived so much together with such a respect and admiration and friendship and love for each other, and with our other sister Lynn and our family. We were from a close family, and we have our kids now that are close together, and we travel with our kids, and it's just, are we the Von Trapps? I don't know. What kind of family does that, you know?
Yeah, right.
But we really hang together. We are clumpers. We like to be together. If we didn't have to work together, we would seek each other out and cook together and eat together. And we do, even when we're not working. So we should probably live in Hawaii, right?
I like that, though. Clumpers. You clump together.
We clump, yeah. We're clumpers.
I love that word. And in what you're saying there, I guess, on the other side of that, and referring to the same article, which kind of like it showed a couple of cool things, made me think of a few things. And I see your son photographed in the same article I just mentioned a moment ago, and he's on stage. He's learning tech stuff. Is Dustin in possession of the same music bug that you and Nancy have had?
Yes, he is. So far, he's not driven to be in the business or to be on stage like we were, but kids today grow up with a different kind of total immersion in music. I mean, from the minute they come to consciousness, it's like rock music is all around them, and it's on the radio, and pop music, all the pop culture is part of their consciousness. So he stands on, it's just a given that he's got the music in him, I don't know where he'll take it.
He's a natural.
Yeah, he likes to play bass. He likes to take his shirt off and sit in a chair and play Guitar Hero, play Slow Ride and Barracuda and stuff like that. And it's really cute, to see him with his little shirt off. He's not so little anymore, but, he's starting to shoot up now, so.
I was going to say, he looks a little bigger than that.
Yeah, he's growing. I still think of him as a little one, though,
that was
sometimes.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's your baby.
Yeah, he is.
He's always going to be that, and that's a good feeling. On that, I've never had kids, and I wonder about the personal evolution that I may be missing that comes from being a parent. And I was hoping that you could each maybe chime in if there is something I'm missing and what you're getting out of it.
Wow, that's a big question, but there's a lot to be missed by not being a parent, I think. Although, in the same breath, I'll say that if you're not driven, if you haven't always thought you would make a good parent, if you get your kid fixes with your other nieces and nephews and friends' kids or something, then it's okay, But I think for me or for Anne, I think we always, because we had such a nurturing mother, and she also nourished us, that we would become mothers because there was something to imprint from our mom and dad beyond us to the next generation. And a lot of the humor and a lot of the music and a lot of the ethic that we were lucky enough to have in our close, tight-knit family, our Clumpers family. And humor, we really wanted to bring that forward. But I think what you miss out on, and what you're surprised, I guess, is that you're going to love something more than you ever imagined you could love any human. And it's the scariest love there is, because they are vulnerable and young, and it would kill you if any harm came to them, and things happen to them and you cannot handle it, and it's huge, so it's just not to be stepped into really lightly like most people sort of do.
That's right. In fact, I think that people should have to get licenses before they have children.
Yeah.
And I'm the lucky person who has the interesting job of raising one of each gender, a boy and a girl, and it's just, each one is just a totally different experience from each other. When we're all together, we've got this dynamic that is so unique to our little family. But I would say that those kids have really brought something out of me that I had no idea was there. One of the things is patience. The other thing is a certain kind of, backbone, I would say.
Right.
I've always been a person who doesn't really like confrontation. You know, I've never really been confrontational, and I've always kind of gone, okay, you guys just work it out or whatever, it'll be fine. But with these kids, you know, there comes a time when you have to step up and go like, no, you're going to do this. You're not going to do that. And you have to, you know, just keep on carping and yapping at them and nagging and imparting your wisdom, and they'll capture some little percentage of it. Right. And they'll let the rest go, you know, and learn by themselves. So to answer your question with a long answer, it's just, I think, patience and a sense of fulfillment and backbone that I never would have gotten otherwise. And I think it's really a great thing to do if you are licensed.
Or if you're insane.
Yes. But if you're happy in your life, if you're fulfilled now, stop where you are.
It's funny you say the licensing. I say that to my girlfriend all the time. She thinks I'm nuts. She's already had 3 kids, but I'm like, I think there's so many irresponsible parents out there. They should be licensed. It's ironic you'd say that.
It's really true.
Totally.
Is there a, as we get to wrap this up, and I really do appreciate the time that I've had here with you, I think about songs, that motherly thing, I guess, I don't know whether there's any connection at all with it, and maybe I'm way off base, but for some reason I always end up hearing a little bit of a motherly tone, this tone of acceptance, and that you would only hear from someone who gave you unconditional love. When you sing sometimes Nancy, and the song would be Hey You from the record, it has this kind of, I don't know how else to describe it. I'm just wondering if anyone's ever pointed that out to you about your voice.
Thanks. That's no one that's actually put it that way to me. Well, when people describe my voice to me, it's like, you sound like a really cool hippie girl, or, you know, like a flower child, or a small, like a childlike voice, you know. But I've never heard of the mothering thing. I think you caught some essence in there, because that is a very, you know, unconditionally loving song.
Sure is.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank you for noticing that. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It comes across other times. It's not that Ann doesn't bring a lot of amazing intensities with what she's doing. It's just like, I think maybe that's part of the magic, really, is that you each can bring something else to the table.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't see that Heart would be nearly as interesting if there was only one singer. If there was only one voice that sang every single song, we'd only be half as interesting. You know what I mean?
So well, I think, you know, not unlike Fleetwood Mac, in some ways, there was always a nice, you know, like a balancing, you know, like this other, a bluesier voice over here that takes you somewhere else for a little bit. And then you come back to kind of the main event, and it's just this nice, you know, dialogue that you can get with more than one lead singer sometimes.
What a cool way to describe it, the main event.
That's Ann.
What a cool thing to say, like, about your sister, too. I like that.
All right.
Well, I'll leave you with this one final question. The Zeppelin thing has come and gone back in 2007. You guys are perhaps one of the bands people associate as being Zeppelin fans. I mean, a lot of people say they're Zeppelin fans. You guys have covered their work for years. You've established yourself as real Zeppelin fans. Do you think they should just stay away and have left it on this one great final note, or would you prefer that they do something eventually as the 4 guys?
Which 4 guys?
With Jason, to go back out there with the 3 guys who did the 2002 reunion. Do you think they should try to tack on and do something more, or as a fan, as being the fans that you are, should they just leave it where they did it with that 2007 show?
Well, as a fan...
A selfish fan?
As a selfish fan, of course, I'd always like to hear, you know, Jimmy Page play live and Plant sing live and John Paul Jones do what he does live and Jason play. But I gotta say that as a musician and as a real soul Zeppelin fan, I'm glad that they're doing exactly what they're doing, because they make me love them by not doing something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really well said.
Yeah, that's what I feel. I was hoping that you guys felt that, and I'm glad they just left it as is.
Me too.
They've never been, in any way sellouts. Their whole entire arc of their whole history. So it might feel slightly like a sellout now.
Well, they set the bar high.
They
really
put the standard up
really
there.
early for that.
But Jason, is really great and sounds really great with them. And if they decided that it would be pertinent and feel right, then that would be awesome too. Yeah. But until such time, their instincts are, I think, perfect.
Yeah. As someone who went to that show too, I'm so glad they have not done any more. It makes you feel like you were really at something special.
Yeah.
That's one of those once in a lifetime things, And they'd always be in some kind of a competition with themselves, I imagine that they must have talked this through and just had an instinct against it and just decided to go with the instinct and not with the money, And that's, boy, you don't see that. That's right. That is something really special.
That's what I'm talking about too. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. All right, a big hug for both of you.
You too, mahalo.
You guys rock. Thanks again. I really do appreciate it. I've had a lot of fun chatting.
Right. Yeah, that was nice.
And it is a great record. Again, I can't say how much I hear Wheels constantly all day now.
Oh,
great. Thanks.
I know, that turned into such a fun song too.
Yeah, it is. I appreciate it.
All right.
Good luck, you guys, and keep in touch for real. I'm glad to be a part of helping to promote the record. It's a solid one.
Oh, thanks
a lot.
so much.
Be safe. Take care.
All right, you too.
Aloha.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Aloha, this is Ann Wilson.
And this is Nancy Wilson of Heart. And you've made a great choice. You're tuned to the only show that matters with our good friend, Dave Lawrence. Aloha, Dave.